With Runescape Mobile set to release on June the 17th, it's time to talk about the potential impact Runescape Mobile will have on the game. Because apart from the Elder Goldrush dungeon, this will without a doubt be the biggest thing for RuneScape this year. So let's go ahead and cover it. Whenever you're ready, grab your cup of tea, sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Now for the eagle-eyed amongst you, you've probably noticed our final announcement today. The official RuneScape Mobile beta starts next week on the 8th of October.
There have been plenty of mixed feelings about RuneScape Mobile since the closed beta back in 2018. Will it fail? Will it ever release? Is it amazing? Is it good? Will players actually use it? Will people be able to do Hunter on RuneScape Mobile? Hold on. Are you AFK hunting charming moths in the wilderness and looking for something to do? Well, I have the game just for you. Similar to hunting in RuneScape, but with guns. Today's video has been sponsored by Hunting Clash. Hunting Clash is a free-to-play mobile hunting simulator with over 10 million downloads available on both iOS and Android. In Hunting Clash, you can hunt over 100 different animals from all over the world from the palm of your hand without suffering the legal consequences. You do this in some breathtaking hunting grounds from all over the world. In addition to hunting variety, you have a wide selection of weapons ranging from sniper rifles to bows to special equipment like sonars. Lure cards are one of the most important parts of gameplay as these increase the chance of specific animals appearing, which is helpful for hunting objectives. This game also features PvP through duels and championships where you face off against an opponent to see who can get the highest score in the shortest amount of time by hunting. With high scores, might I add. In PvP matches, having a set of diverse lure cards is of the utmost importance to beat your opponents. If this game sounds like your cup of tea, be sure to download the game through the link in the description below to support the channel. I think the amount of posts or comments saying RuneScape Mobile would never release are pretty funny. I mean, they've been working on it for years and it's easy to forget that they're still working on it and that some updates were actually directly tied to mobile or made for mobile. I'm fairly confident this is the biggest push for new players Jagex has ever done or will do since they haven't shelved the update after so many years because it was so much work, and it makes sense because the mobile gaming market is absolutely massive. According to an article published in 2021, the mobile gaming market is responsible for about 50% of all video gaming revenue worldwide. That is ridiculous. And we know it's a big market because other developers have been trying to tap into that mobile gaming industry as well. All for the same reason, more revenue, obviously. Now, why does RuneScape 3 Mobile work so well? Well, first of all, it does exactly what you expect it to do as an existing player, meaning existing players will use it anyway. Even if there's not that many new players, existing players will use it, and that will drive up the amount of downloads and all that kind of stuff on Google Play and the App Store on iOS. Second of all, the game requires very little input, which is honestly something you see a lot on mobile games. There's not much you need to do to skill in RuneScape, and skilling is a pretty large portion of content. Mini games don't require that many inputs either. You know, some obviously do, but the majority of content, apart from obviously bossing, doesn't require many inputs, and we do have Revolution, which honestly is fine for the majority of things in game. You really don't need to manually activate your abilities, and that makes it easier for people to get into, you know, the basics of combat. And there's plenty of mobile games that aren't very intuitive in terms of gameplay, like just clicking on a cookie, for example, and they're still a success. So people clicking on a fishing spot and being able to catch fish and sell those fish, or click on a rock, you know, not very engaging gameplay, well, like RuneScape, just because it's so simple. You don't need a very innovative game to succeed on the mobile market. In fact, I'd say the simpler the game, the more successful it will be. People that are bored like to play some simple dumb game to get through time. For example, Cookie Clicker or Flappy Bird. Simple games do work very well in the mobile market, and RuneScape skilling, and the majority of content excluding bossing, is very simple. And once they're in, and you know what I mean. Another thing that came to my attention was it looks surprisingly good for a mobile game. On PC, RuneScape, graphics, you know, you might like them because you play the game, but honestly, they're pretty bad. But for a mobile game, it looks surprisingly good. I think RuneScape will be one of the more enticing games on the Play Store and App Store to the average Joe scrolling through the games looking for something new. If you were an average Joe and you wouldn't have played RuneScape before, you would definitely click on this nomad boy. It's like the icon of RuneScape now on the Play Store and Steam. And even if they haven't played RuneScape before, but they do know RuneScape, they've played it in the past, or they know a friend that plays it, they're going to be interested to see what it's like because they see the name and they recognize RuneScape on the App Store or Play Store. I think that's a big thing RuneScape has going for it. Pretty much everyone that plays games knows the game. They might not play the game anymore, but they know the game, which will possibly entice them to download the game. To get an idea of what kind of impact RuneScape 3 Mobile could have on the player base, let's have a look at OSRS Mobile, which was released late October in 2018. And the results of that release are pretty crazy. Old school RuneScape Mobile went from 56,000 average players to about 102,000 players on average, with a peak of 200,000 players. That is just mind-boggling. What's even crazy is that most players stuck around for about 3 months and then the player base started going down, but even at its lowest point on average, the average player count was boosted by about 25,000 permanently. And that new lowest point of average players was in November of 2019. Almost a year after the release of old school RuneScape Mobile. Now there might have been some important updates in between that kept the average player count up, but that's a good indication of what RuneScape Mobile could do to RuneScape's player base, and I think the increase in players is going to be bigger than old school RuneScape because old school RuneScape doesn't appeal to as many people that have never played the game as RuneScape will. I'm pretty sure about that. I have nothing to back it up, but I do think old school RuneScape is less appealing to someone who hasn't played the game before, but more appealing than someone who has played the game before, because it looks like the good old game they played in their childhood. But to someone who hasn't played RuneScape ever, RuneScape Mobile, or RuneScape 3 Mobile, will be way more appealing because it looks like a more modern and fleshed out game. Another point of reference in terms of big releases or big things that added new players is Steam's release for RuneScape 3. Now this increased the player base, or average player base, by about 20 to 30%, which is fairly big and significant, but not as big as mobile, and the numbers just show it because old school RuneScape also released on Steam and it didn't really impact the player base that much, and it seems to be going down in player base now, but that's probably because some other issues are going on. But yeah, the mobile market is much more powerful, as you can see, in terms of numbers, and probably also in the way they spend their money on MTX, which is why Jagex is revamping their store. It makes so much sense, guys. Mobile is the way to get new players. It's way more powerful than the biggest PC platform, being Steam. You just see it in the numbers. It's going to be a success no matter what. I truly believe the stars will align for RuneScape Mobile. I honestly cannot see it failing at all, whatever failing means anyway. Sure, there are some issues with the game, there are bugs, it takes more time to get into than other games, but it is an MMORPG after all. Jagex is trying to do their best to make the new experience better by improving the UI, adding a completely new mobile tutorial, and they're working on a new character and character creator rework. Even if RuneScape Mobile isn't for everybody and it's far from ideal for any bossing related content, RuneScape has the right core qualities to be a successful mobile game. It does everything it needs to do, and we as players are directly and indirectly supporting the game by pre-registering or giving feedback to the developers. It's a game that can easily hook you if it's your thing, and even if it isn't, I can still see mobile gamers playing the game on the side when they feel like doing something on their phone on the move when they're bored, and they might be hooked a little later down the line. I can definitely see the player base increasing massively and a bunch of those players sticking around, whether that's on mobile or switching to PC. What do you think will happen when RuneScape Mobile releases on June the 17th? Let me know down in the comments below. Once again, thanks to Hunting Clash for sponsoring today's video. If you want to support the channel, download the game through the link in the description below. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.